Hello, Chattanooga. So glad you joined us for another episode of Footnotes. My name's Sam Hodem. I'm here with this lovely lady.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hodem.
It's her first time doing Footnotes with us.
It is. It's obvious.
I'm so glad that you guys are here. Just a few things going on at CAC. You'll notice, some things have, the timing of Footnotes have changed and kind of been a little changey up. Some days it'd be on Wednesday night, and sometimes it's on Thursday morning. Sometimes the camera looks this way. Sometimes it looks a little better or a little different. We're in the middle of remodeling on a new building at 6314 East Brainerd Road here in Chattanooga. It's been quite an undertaking, and so sometimes that our service or like we'll use this for our service stream as depending on what's going live and what's not. I would encourage you though. We've set up in the chapel there at 6314 East Brainerd Road. We've set up in the chapel, and we are temporary. We're like a temporary setup there, streaming, and in a couple of weeks we'll be back in the gym / new sanctuary. It's completely redone. It's going to look really. Honestly, it's coming together really well.
It is. You can look at updates on our social media if you go to our Instagram and our Facebook at the CAC Move or Cornerstone Apostolic Church Chattanooga. You can see the updates.
Yeah. We've tried our best to kind of just keep you up to date with our journey, and we appreciate your patience as we grow, as we go, as we move, as we renovate. And there's a whole lot of things yet to be done, but there's a whole lot of work that's already happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
This Sunday, Pastor Sloan he preached on a topic called heaven. It's not a foreign topic at CAC. It's not even a foreign sermon title. You can pretty much you can preach about that about every Sunday if you want to.
It's the end goal, right?
Yeah. He went into some different things. One of the things I think that he laid the foundation with was God is God, we're not. Mm-hmm. It's a very sometimes that's taken for granted in our current society. Is that, or I say we take it for granted in a church setting, but in our current society, that's not even thought of. We sometimes think of ourselves as a God.
Yeah, putting ourselves at the center.
Yeah, this is a me-centric world, and everyone else is just passing through it.
Yeah,
but it's God's world, and in establishing that over and over again in our minds, of making sure fighting that cultural influence, I would say, in America. But then one of the ways he brought that out was in Isaiah 6, when in the year that King Uzziah died, Isaiah wrote, "I saw the Lord high and lifted up." And then he talks about the seraphims crying, "Holy, holy, holy," one to another. And Pastor brought out a very interesting note on this that I hadn't really just thought about. He said, "From one to another." They weren't saying that to God. They weren't saying that to others. They were reminding each other. God is holy, holy, holy. And when you have holy, 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 when you constantly remind one another of that, then your circumstances don't, they get a little smaller. Mm-hmm. Your situation in life gets a little smaller. Your ideas get a little smaller. Your you gets a little smaller, and you have God.
Yeah, I think that highlights also the importance of not isolating yourself, or, in this world being me-centric, it's really easy to, when everything is revolving around you, to kind of isolate yourself in that. And just that reminder of them even them speaking to one another that God is holy, remembering that we need people to speak into our lives. And I think it was Brother Ellingsworth who said, if you're ever feeling down in the dumps, or if you're ever struggling to get out of yourself, to go disciple somebody else. And that just kind of exemplifies that scripture in a roundabout way of them speaking.
Getting past yourself.
Yeah.
Of getting past your current situation. That's an important it's an important principle, but there was also something he hit on. He said, positioning myself so that I can hear from God, or that God can move in my situation.
Yeah.
I thought of it like this in atonement, positioning myself at one with God, not because God needs me to do something to move, but because he moves within certain parameters of holiness.
Yeah.
And I have to align my heart to that. I think that that's something that we kind of forget a little bit. Atonement. What does that mean to you, just a little bit? In as he was talking about that.
When I think about atonement, being at one with God, honestly, I'm a very kinesthetic person, or like I have to put a situation around something to really understand it. When I am singing or worshiping,
Yeah.
that's probably when I feel the most at one with God, because not even lyrically, but musically, I feel like that helps me to focus and really turn my attention to what is important. So in those moments, I feel like I'm able to actually align my heart and my mind with whatever God would have for that moment.
Also, at this point in juncture, we should mention that our 6-month-old is in the background. If
He's
you hear
5 and a
him, he's
Don't
almost
age him.
6.
He's almost 6 months.
He's in the background trying to figure out how to talk. So if you hear,
Or if I look off camera for some reason.
we probably should have opened with that. But I will say this, in going from atonement to then looking at, he mentioned something of Philippians. For many, I want to say it was Philippians 3:19. Philippians 3:19 says, their end is their destruction, their God is their belly, and they glory in their shame with minds set on earthly things. Their appetite is their belly, their consumption, and it's such a true statement. We are driven by ourselves.
Our desire for consumption and comfort, I would say. I would add that to consumption.
Yeah, it can be a variety of things, right? The 7 deadly sins they're not just eating or just gluttony, but there's a whole array of things there that drives and motivates us that then become our own destruction. But they're things set on earthly things. And that was where he started to turn it just a little bit to heaven. He started to adjust us. There was, how did he bring the alabaster box into this?
As he brought in, going back to the atonement piece. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, that's when he brought in the story in the Bible that talks about the lady who brought in that alabaster box and had that moment of, the whole earth, he went into the whole earth is full of his glory and how the angels cry, holy, holy. And then in the story, when she comes in and she is not paying attention to the other people who are sitting in the room, it was just her and the Lord. And she took that time to give her sacrifice in an effort for atonement. And then he specifically highlighted how that act, I think it says in that verse, this will be a memorial, and everyone will know, and everyone from here on will hear about her because of that.
because of her worship, of her, in the humbleness and the meekness that she came with. I do think that is coupled, if I may, that's coupled with our approach to God is coupled with His response to us. It doesn't have to be the same for everyone, but it has to have the same spirit, the same attitude. Yeah. It doesn't have to. Not everyone has to run to the altar,
right? Per
se, like in the middle of service, but everyone has to have the attitude of, I'm running to the altar. This is where my help comes from.
Internal posture.
Yeah, the internal posture matters. I'll say this as we're closing down here, the holy, holy, holy to the Lord. I couldn't help but think of Deuteronomy 6:4. Where He said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and Him only shall thou serve." And then He goes on. He says, "And you shall teach it, you shall mention it, you shall talk about it, you shall write it on, you shall write it on your arms, and you shall bind it to your head." Not literally, but in everything you do and everything you think, you shall think on the Lord. That's a constant reminder that despite our nature, despite who we are, that God is one, that God is holy, that He is who we'll serve. And I think if we'll do that, as you're going through this week, I think if you'll do that, if you'll take those scriptures and that principle and that worship to heart, you'll say, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty." And all the things around you will change because your perspective will change. And that's not just the power of positive thinking.
Right,
that's the power of God.
And I think, and in His sermon, he mentioned over and over again how the earth is full of God's glory, and taking that posture would help you to realize and recognize that you are really surrounded by God's glory, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes.
Because the whole earth is His.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're having a good day or if you're having a bad day, He's even if I go down to the pits of hell, you are there.
He's there.
Man, what a consolation! What a wonderful thing it is to know that we serve a God that is omnipresent. He is everywhere, and all we have to do is call on Him. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my wife for helping me with Footnotes today. And thank you guys so much for joining us. AG in the background, adding some background effects. Going to roll the credits for him. I hope you guys have a great day.